Oh, hello. A little different setup today. It's a beautiful day. This won't be as long as other readings because I don't know how much battery I have left on this and I don't want anything to die before the message is out. So we'll make it a mini reading. We're out in nature today. It is actually Easter Sunday as I'm recording this. So figured it would be nice to be out in nature for today's message. I have some decks and we are going to do a Bibliomancy message from When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone. Also felt fitting. So I almost want to pull cards blindly, set them down, not look at them yet, do the Bibliomancy message and see how it all connects, because I feel like that also helps you see the magic. So let's do that. First, I do want to get some astrological signifiers. Doesn't have to be confirmation that this is for you, but additional confirmation. So that will help you know whether or not this is for you. And before we even do that, let's take some breaths. Let's ground while we're out here in beautiful church and get back into our bodies. Get back in alignment. Sorry, I'm just getting my cards out. All right. So please join me in whatever way feels most comfortable for you, wherever you are. The wind, obviously, as you can tell, is getting stronger and stronger. I love it. I love to see it. I just hope it doesn't tip this over. We're good. We're good. All right. Palms down to ground, palms up to receive. You decide what it is that you need at this time. And let's take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth at your own pace. Notice and release any tension in the body with every exhale. And if you feel inclined to state a question or intention in your mind's eye at this time, feel free. Knowing that the guidance, clarity, and answers that you seek will reveal themselves to you when the time is right. All right, let's get started. 3 rolls to get some astrological signifiers. And then we'll pull cards, get the Bibliomancy, and see what the message is. First roll. 5th house in Pisces, maybe significant. Pluto in the 5th house may be significant. Or Pluto in Pisces. I don't know that anyone alive would have that. However, I don't know math right now. Second roll. 7th house in Sagittarius. South node in Sagittarius, or the South node in your 7th house. Ooh. And last roll. 2nd house in Capricorn, or your moon in Capricorn, or your moon in the 2nd house. Okay? Wonderful. That was additional guidance for anybody who needs it. Let's get some cards, and then we'll get the message, and then we'll look at the cards and see how it all comes together. Wind and lip gloss are not the best combo, but you know what? We're going to make it work, make it cute. I also want to make sure my little mic dies. Hello, little mic. Look at us, all professional at the park. Love that for us. Okay, Spirit. Please use these cards to deliver more clarity on what this message is. Or actually, no, that's not what I want to do. With this deck, please show me the energy of the person I'm reading for and how it relates to whatever passage we land on with this Bibliomancy message. Please and thank you. 2 more shuffles. This is coming through, so I'm just going to say it since it's coming up right now. I feel like for whoever I'm talking to, you are someone who feels spiritually lost, maybe. I don't know that you have a specific practice. Maybe you don't subscribe to any certain religion, and it feels like this may bring up, I think it brings some stuff up for you. For some, it might be childhood sort of memories of religious trauma that maybe you experienced, but it feels more like, again, if you just feel lost, but you're not. I don't feel that you are. Accelerated motion. I just think you can't see your path clearly, and that's on purpose. And I think sometimes you may wonder if it's because you are not subscribed to some certain practice or religion. Okay, Spirit, with this deck, please show me the message for this person at this time. Please do not. Thank you. One more. Thank you. Okay. So let's put these away for now and see what is the Bibliomancy message for this collective at this time. Please and thank you. In 1957, Robert Graves wrote of the ritual regicide as it appeared in pre-Indo-European Greece, explaining it as follows. The tribal nymph, it seems, chose an annual lover from her entourage of young men. Okay. A king to be sacrificed when the year ended. Yikes. The sacred king continued to hold his position only by the right of the marriage to the tribal nymph. In his introduction to the Greek myths, he explains his theories on how kingship in the Aegean was made a permanent institution as a gradual extension of the year into a longer year was introduced by the invading Indo-European Achaeans? I don't know. Of the 13th century BC, and later a permanent kingship instituted by the Indo-European Dorians at about 1100 BC. Do I want to keep going? Interesting that we're talking about a sacrifice on Easter. Most authors who discuss the sacrifice of the king describe it primarily as a fertility rite, suggesting that his remains may even have been scattered over the newly sown fields. Oh my gosh! Though this perhaps became the custom in later periods, one of the earliest recorded legends, that of the Sumerian goddess Inanna, written shortly after 2000 BC, I just prepped a newsletter for you guys all about Inanna. Probably a written record of even earlier myths and religious ideas presented a different motive. In this legend, the sacrifice of the consort occurred when he was no longer willing to defer to the wishes, commands, and power of the goddess. This most ancient account perhaps reveals the earliest origins and reasons for the death of the male consort. Later, ideas of fertility or expiation of sins may have eventually been embroidered about the custom to ensure or explain its continuation. It may be helpful to examine the numerous accounts of the sacred marriage, or the son lover as king, and the position of the high priestess in several of the cultures of the Near East. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay, so we have themes of sacrifice here. We have a death what feels like a death rebirth energy. Again, very timely. We have the timeline of a year, so there might be something coming back around right now for you that started a year ago. It feels like for whoever I'm talking to, you may have gone through a death of sorts in the last year. So I don't know what was starting for you last end of April, May, I don't know. Perhaps you experienced a very strong shift, something that was happening within you that began your descent. And again, return to self.me for my newsletter. You can read more about Inanna's descent and how it parallels and mirrors the story of Jesus. So when it comes to the energy of you, let's see the cards that we got. Foundation and Achievements, a spiritual card. Harmony, which is the Lovers. Patience and Planning, a physical card. Funny because of what I mentioned earlier. When I talk about God, and again, this is coming from someone who grew up Catholic, I know that that word may not resonate for a lot of people, especially if you didn't have the best experiences of religion or God or believing in a higher power. There is some sort of partnership and or your own inner energies that have been coming into harmony here, coming into union. And it is helping you set up a spiritual foundation for yourself. And again, that is unique to you. My resistance with traditional indoctrination is that it doesn't necessarily always offer the safest environment to explore and come to terms with what is true for you. You're someone who has gone through an initiation of sorts in the last year. There was something about your identity, your self, that went into the underworld, did your dissension. Things were taken from you so that you could achieve this foundation spiritually. This is security and stability, but again, in a spiritual sense. Family is also coming up here, so family may be significant here, or perhaps even the thought of your own family may have been something that you have thought about a lot lately. Partnership, family, the future, what does that look like? In the last year, it also feels like in order for this harmony energy to come into union for you, there was a lot of things that you needed patience with in the material physical realm. There's lots of imbalances that you needed to sort of strategically plan for with patience and planning. Things needed to come together in the physical as well. But I think you were also recognizing how the two were mirroring each other as well. The harmony or lack of harmony that you were experiencing within yourself, the foundation or lack of foundation that you were experiencing within yourself was being reflected in your external world as well. And I think for whoever I'm talking to, this last year really put you on may have been a really gnarly ride of shedding and releasing who you always accepted yourself to be so that you could be reborn as someone, not necessarily different, but someone who is more aligned with your soul signature, your essence. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, we got some deception and envy of the mind peeking out, emotional withdrawal. There may have been a lot of grief that was coming up in the last year as well. A lot of emotions that were coming up to the surface that perhaps you were conveniently either ignoring, suppressing, or numbing in some way. And that was helping you really get back into this energy so that you could face the truth of what was going on inside of you and what you were being shown through this dissension. With accelerated motion, a spiritual card here on the bottom, it feels like things are about to pick up pretty quickly for you because, again, and we'll see what we got for the actual message and what activations are happening, but it feels like there's some sort of knowing or understanding that also came top of mind for you that's allowing this alignment to take place. Because again, with deception and envy right underneath, I think there were a lot of illusions that were sort of steering you off path and making it difficult for you to see the truth of a situation and even of yourself. Lots of illusions, lots of distractions. Even with me here at the park right now, lots of distractions. People rolling up on me, and I'm always like, who, why, where, when? But it doesn't matter because you're protected and you're safe. And perhaps this is something that you're also learning, is how to release control. What is it that you want to experience in this life? And is that due to your actual soul signature, your essence, or is that something you were taught to believe you needed and wanted in order to experience security, stability, foundation, and happiness? For this week's newsletter, if you haven't already taken a look, I talk about that. That was the energy forecast of this week. We're in Taurus season now. Taurus is an earth element. It is grounded, it is calm, it can also be a bit stubborn, but it is the energy of bringing things down into the earthly realm. Very material, very slow moving. And again, it's because it's building roots. I feel a sneeze coming on. Bless me. So, it makes sense, again, if this is resonating with you and you haven't looked at the energy forecast yet. Part of that reading was talking about how love and money are very karmically linked for you. And I feel this here too. There is a deeper rooted wound that was being shown and revealed to you, that was from it sprouting both your perception and illusions of love and also of money. Venus rules over both, so it makes sense. They are intertwined because the root of both of them is how you view yourself, what you believe to be true for you. At the same time, you're also being shown and have been shown where you were willing to sacrifice your emotional fulfillment for what you thought would keep you safe, secure, and stable. There is again, and it's funny that Inanna keeps coming up because during her dissension, she had to sacrifice 7 worldly possessions in order to basically bear her soul. She gave up her crown, she gave up her chest plate, she gave up all of these different things, again, I believe, connected to the chakras, that were symbolism for the balancing of the chakras, of the awakening. What happens when you are stripped of everything? Who are you met with? And when you face that version of yourself, your shadow, in the underworld, your dissension, that's when you're down at the roots of you. And I talk about this all the time. That's when you're able to fix anything that isn't working, so that whatever is rebirth, whatever resurrects, is rooted in solid foundation. Let's see your message. Consciousness, sacral chakra, Merkaba. The numbers 2, 17, and 32. February 17th may have been a significant date. These numbers just may be significant to you as well, but that's the only date that's coming up. For whoever I'm talking to, again, whenever I see Merkaba, y'all are my time travelers. You have very otherworldly experiences. You are not on a conventional path. You may not even feel inclined to share sometimes what you experience or go through because you're afraid of being seen as crazy. Maybe, unfortunately, you don't have a lot of people around you that help you feel safe enough to share some of the experiences you have, which again may go into why you feel lost. You feel alone. Not all those who wander are lost is a saying for a reason, and it relates here. Sometimes when you're lost is exactly when you're found. You have been traveling through your own consciousness to see where things were not in alignment and where there were illusions. Crow flying right up above me. Oh, it's circling. That's beautiful. Hi, Hecate. Okay. There is something about an Akashic inheritance as well. This is literally written for you. This death rebirth, this last year, whatever journey you have been on, with the sacral chakra coming up as well, it may have something to do with your creativity, your sexuality, your healing abilities, your own healing, your body, your sensuality, your emotion. the part of you that flows like water, or maybe doesn't at all. Also, the part of you that's connected to the material realm, to your idea of success, creative power, and abundance. All of these different elements were being brought up, especially when it comes to your desire. So if your desires were coming up, so was any guilt that you had suppressed, because guilt is the demon of the sacral chakra. So any guilt that you are experiencing and feeling is trapping and blocking this energy from flowing smoothly and freely, which water is meant to do. You are time traveling into your own consciousness in order to see the other layers of reality, perhaps even other dimensions, so that you can bring it all back home to you and present and serve your highest purpose here. Maybe you had an idea of what your mission work was here, or what your purpose was. And again, I use quotes because, as I always say, your purpose is you. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. But perhaps, again, you got that confused and you were putting so much focus and emphasis into what you do that you forgot who you are. You are remembering now with consciousness coming up. This is about supporting your ability to focus your attention on the fact that you are a multidimensional being. You have aspects that show up that are beyond just this world, and that you're meant to include them in your reality in some way as well. That's why certain things had to die. Some things had to be shed and let go, because you were being shown this isn't even yours. For whoever I'm talking to, I really feel like you had a lot of karmic stuff that you were working through that was, some of it was yours. Some of it was your family's. Some of it was past life stuff. Some of it was just things that you agreed to take on in this life, because again, I feel like I attract spiritual warriors. I attract those who are just like, okay, as my favorite quote says, it ran in my family until it ran into me. And then it knew what it was up against. You're someone who had a lot of things that you were working through, especially in this last year. Because again, remember the bibliomancy message. Marriage was also, sacred marriage was also here. I'm not going to lie, there's partnership energy all over this. But again, I know some people are like, but if that's the case, it's not for you. There is some sort of partnership energy here, some sort of harmony, something coming into balance. But there was a lot of change that needed to happen when it came to remembering who you are and what you're here to do, which is just an extension of who you are. I don't know that you were operating from an authentic place before. I think, again, like you would in the past, you were focusing on worldly achievements, which isn't bad. It's just to say, who are you doing it for? Maybe that was part of your journey. Who am I doing any of this for? What is my actual goal? What is the end game here? When I think of my life 50 years from now, what does that look like? Top of the deck, Gaia. We love her. We're here with her. No wonder. That's funny. Of course, I'm doing it outside in nature, which I never do. Authority, your solar plexus. The frequency of authority reminds us that true authority is powerful, directed, and realized, yet receptive, wise, and loving. And that is the balance that we are talking about. That is the balance we are talking about. And I know when we say masculine and feminine, it's very limiting. It makes it think that, okay, well, that's masculine, so it can't be feminine. No. Once you embody and integrate the duality, the illusion of duality, you realize there is no separation. It is all one energetic frequency, all mishmash together, dancing together. But there are phases to this. And so sometimes, to explain it best, we talk about it in that dual perspective. But again, two sides of a spectrum. It's still one spectrum. The energy is still one. It's just the opposite ends. And we talk about it so that you can conceptualize it, so you can understand it. But at some point you will realize, oh, there's actually no separation between this and that. It's all one thing. But in order to find that balance, you need to understand your limits. And perhaps that was the journey that you were on. All right, really quick, let's get some tarot guidance on what to do next. Really quick. Okay, Spirit, what is the guidance for this collective? Please and thank you. Ooh. Okay, yeah, this is partnership. Heavy. Got the Four of Wands and the Queen of Swords. Ace of Wands in reverse. King of Wands in reverse. Ten of Swords in reverse. Yeah. There's definitely someone that comes to mind in regards to this message related to you. It may be a feminine energy, or perhaps this is your energy with the Queen of Swords, someone who is honest, fair, independent, clear with their boundaries, intelligent, a very direct communicator. They value the truth. And perhaps if this is someone else, this triggered you. Because again, we talked about earlier how you were not willing to see the truth. It was full of illusion. This person feels like home in some way. There was a level of stability within this that felt very safe, felt familiar. Again, there's a deep divine connection here with the Four of Wands. Again, harmony, belonging. It does feel like there is an invitation to allow this stability to be, and again, marriage coming up again. But what I'm also getting is perhaps this has been like a start-stop situation with the Ace of Wands in reverse. This is also a card of perceivable rejection. I don't know if someone is afraid of rejection here, but there's been delays, there's been blocks, distractions, which we just talked about. And again, perhaps a lot of false starts. So like stop, start, and hesitancy here. But the hesitancy was due to this Ten of Swords. So someone was going through some really painful endings, some sort of loss, and there was some crisis here, some deep wounding that prevented that energy of this Ace of Wands to be upright. It feels with the King of Wands in reverse, and then the Magician in reverse, and then the Star in reverse. There's a lack of faith here. Someone was trying to force things to go forward. Perhaps there was some impulsivity here, some forceful behavior. But again, it was coming from a place of a lack of foundation. We talked about that in the beginning. The foundation that you needed for this to be sustained and healthy was not there, because this was the prime focus. You needed to heal this. There may have been some betrayal here as well. And again, exhaustion. Like this was taking up all of your mental, spiritual, and emotional energy. And it got in the way of this. It got in the way of that Four of Wands. However, again, this Ace of Wands in reverse, if nothing else, know that the delays, the redirections were to help build a stronger foundation. Intuitively, what I'm feeling here is if this is something that you still want to pursue, or fast communication, you do want to pursue. Maybe you're thinking about reaching out to someone. And maybe if this is their energy, the Queen of Swords, I think you're a little afraid, especially if there was not so great experiences. But you're being guided to also harness that Queen of Swords energy. Be direct and be honest. Be honest about where you are, what you're going through, what you need, what you've reflected on, what's going on. Be honest about what it is that you're seeking from this person. Honesty is the best policy. That's why it's not always easy, and that's why not everybody practices that. Illusions are much easier, but that doesn't always help everybody. There's a card that's flipped over here. What is it? Discernment. The frequency of discernment supports our ability to view the world and the people around us from a place of inner balance and detachment, yet with compassion and wisdom. There you go. Throat chakra. Stop it. I told you. There's a conversation that has been looming on your brain. I think it scares you. And I also think it's an opportunity for you to prove to yourself that you're more capable than you give yourself credit for, and that you're not the same person you've always been. But the only one who needs to believe in that in order to see the change that you desire is you. Because whatever you believe to be true is true for you, and it's going to affect the way that you move in this world, and that's going to be your confirmation. So you decide. All right, I hope you get outside, hug a tree, touch some grass. drink your water. And as always, if you want to have a personal with me, mysticbrew.com. Subscribe to the newsletter at returntoself.me, and I'll see you later.